Hello, my gardening angels. I am Jess. If you are new to my channel, welcome. So today I'm going to be kind of continuing along the succulent propagation lines of what I've kind of been doing lately. I have a ton of Fred Ives, and Fred Ives is one of those succulents that grows extremely well for me. However, I neglect it completely, and I feel so horrible, but I mean, it's a plant, I can't feel that bad, but I neglect my Fred Ives so much because I think they just grow so easily that I'm like, oh, whatever, I can just like fix them later. And they're not that beautiful rosette, kind of like a Lola or an Allegra that I just adore. And so they're a hard one for me to like keep maintained and keep looking great. And so a lot of times I'll like take them off my shelf if I want to have room for something else, or you know, so I have a lot here that are in really bad shape. So I figured I would show you how I'm going to be propagating them and how I'm going to be fixing them and what, you know, different things I have found with this plant. I'm going to be probably taking about half the leaves and putting them in a propagation tray and doing my normal propagation. If you haven't checked out like normal succulent propagation, that kind of applies to most succulents. I'll include a link to that down below. Otherwise, I'll be putting the other half away in a bowl and using it for dry propagation, which I'll be making a video on shortly once I harvest a couple more leaves from around my grow shelves, which you can kind of see back here. They're turned on today. So my arm is getting tired, so I'll flip you around and show you my Fred Ives. So my desk is a complete mess, so please ignore it. But this is Fred Ives, if you are not super familiar with them. They're a really fun plant. I just have a ton of them that have really outgrown themselves. So I'm going to be kind of chopping them down. Like you can see this one, he's just got a stem for days. And so does that one and this one back there. So the leaves are all nice and juicy. I watered these leaves, or these leaves. I watered these succulents last week, and so the leaves should have filled in a little bit nicer. However, like I said, I really neglect them, so they're not looking their best. All right, so just to start off, I mean, this is my desk. It's a little chipped away, but I have this really cute little bowl. I just like to have something to put the leaves in. This is what I'll be putting the leaves I'll propagate in. And then I have some tweezers, which I brought these in case I find any mealybugs. Otherwise, I probably won't use them because I'll just be pulling all the leaves off. But I like to pick at the mealybugs and tweeze them off. And then I just have some little sewing scissors, and I find these to be kind of nice for deheading or beheading. What is it? I don't know. Let me know down in the comments. For taking off the heads of the succulents. I find those kind of handy. So I am just going to hop right in. So we'll start with this container. There are 5 heads in it. Fred Ives are one of the really fun succulents that have really pretty color like variation depending on how much light they get. So they're kind of like a nice pink, and they have green. You can kind of see how this one goes from like a pink purple to green, and same in the middle here. They're really fun, and they change a lot of color, change to a lot of colors throughout the year. So there's not a lot of leaves on this one down here. So I'm just going to start by beheading them mostly. Okay, so for this one, it's a pretty nice cutting. I think I'm going to be removing these bottom leaves though. They're a little bit dry for propagation, but I'll probably still keep them just in case they decide to do something. Fred Ives are pretty good at making the most out of what they have here. That one's a really nice cutting as well. And you can see that this is called etiolation. It should not be this stretched out. However, I have found that Fred Ives really do stretch out a lot farther than most succulents do in the same amount of light. Nice little baby there. He has lots of roots. This guy I will just put in here, and I'll add him to a propagation tray later. This one's really cute because he's growing off of a stem that I already beheaded. If you leave some leaves on, it should grow really easily. One of these, you can see that there's actually another one starting right by my thumb. Inch off the top. It really gets rid of the size of these, but you know, since they've been growing so long, they're old, and you're kind of ruining all that like great juice they have in these stems, but there's really no other way to get them short again, so I'm going to be just cutting it off here. And then I'm going to be removing these bottom ones as well. And then I'll just have this little guy and I'll root him up. Same thing with him here. The leaves from him. I think I will run an experiment with this guy because he is so strong and doing so well. Like, none of his leaves are dry or anything. I'm going to be leaving these bottom 2 leaves and see if he'll grow some succulents on these nodes here. And wherever you remove a leaf is a node. And if you want your succulent to grow roots or stem or new babies or anything, you're going to need some nodes to let that happen, because that's where they're going to grow from. So this is my current mess of chaos. I got a lot of really nice size cuttings, which I think is about this size is what I actually started with for all my Fred Ives. I bought them in Florida at Florida Cactus. If you ever go down to Florida, particularly Orlando, you need to make a day of going to Apopka, which is only like an hour drive away, and go to Florida Cactus because all of their succulents are wholesale. We packed empty shoe boxes into our suitcase so that we could bring home succulents. They sell them as cuttings half the time, but they sometimes have roots on them. And I just wrapped them up in some newspaper and paper towels, whatever we had in the hotel room, and put them in the shoe boxes. And that's like 90% of my succulent collection is from that wholesale nursery, and it was amazing. And even my family members who don't have a love for succulents were impressed by this nursery. So it's definitely fun and definitely worth checking out for a couple hours. So like I said, here's all the leaves that I got from my Fred Ives. I'm going to be taking about half of these. Don't worry, I'll take half the healthy ones and half the ones I pulled off of kind of the gross off of these things. And be splitting them up between the 2 trays just to make sure that I'm doing an equal experiment here. Also, I'm going to be putting all of the cuttings that I just took in this dough bowl because I'm going to let this sit for 2 to 3 days, and then I'll plant them up, and then I'm going to probably give them up to a week before I water them, just because you really want that end to callus over. You do not want to water your succulents with a wet end like this. So that is extremely important. Do not forget this step, otherwise you will be dealing with rotting succulents and then you just wasted all of your time. Same goes for these. I'm not going to be watering the ones I'm putting in my normal propagation tray until about 3 days out, or up to a week, depending on how fast this callus calluses over. And then the dry propagation ones I won't be watering at all. So stay tuned for that as well. I just wanted to show you a quick shot of the current Fred Ives that I have propagating in my tray. These couple here, and I think this one is also one, which surprisingly he has really strong roots, but no baby yet. However, you can see, well, I guess I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but there's a knob, a white knob on the end of it, and that's new growth, and so he's coming. He'll be there. But these three here all have really cute little... So yeah, that went pretty quick. I only probably spent 20 minutes doing that, and I think I will have a much happier Fred Ives garden now, and I'm going to try really hard not to neglect them, because I definitely feel like I pick favorites in my garden and pay attention to some more over the others. So I'm going to be trying really hard to make sure that these ones are getting the proper amounts of light, and I think this weekend I'm going to be redoing my grow shelf a little bit, because when we moved in I kind of just threw everything that came in under some lights because they needed it, and I didn't really organize it according to size, and I think I'm going to be doing that. So if you are not, definitely subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you get notified when I post that, because I'm going to have a lot of really great grow light tips in that video. And along those terms, comment down below what succulents you would like to see propagated, because I have a variety of them, and I'd be able to show you some of the different steps that I take in order to propagate certain things, because every succulent's a little bit different. They all follow around the same basic technique. However, some of them like to be watered more, some of them like to be watered less, and I'd be definitely willing to go over a particular succulent in a lot of great detail with you. So definitely comment down below what types of succulents you want to see propagated. And as always, you can email me a picture if you do not know the name. So that's all for today. So thank you guys so much for joining me, and I will see you this weekend.